Yo, what's good? It's your boy Shmiel, Polygraph 513 Boxing. Yeah, I ain't know how I give it up. Shout out to everybody, man. This is a response video to Zone 6 Boxing. Go check out his YouTube channel and platform. It's one of the best platforms talking boxing. Just keeping it real, sweet science. I spend most of my time over there interacting with that platform. Some of the most knowledgeable fans, some of the most thought-provoking, well-crafted arguments based on facts. It's just a really good time. So check it out if you can. But this is in response to Zone 6 saying that he believes, that he feels, that Terence Crawford is ducking Keith Thurman because Terence Crawford said that he didn't like Keith Thurman's conduct in the past. And so therefore, moving forward, he would no longer fight him. He would never fight him again. And Zone 6 says this is a problem to him because he doesn't like any fighter who tries to take anybody off the table because of his feelings or emotions. No matter what, you should be willing to get in there and fight and throw hands. The mentality should be everybody can get their ass whooped, no matter who it is, what the past issues are or not. You can get to work, right? And I appreciate that position. And at the heart of a boxer, I agree. But at the same time, that is a very linear view at the sport. It's a very two-dimensional look at the sport. We got to add flesh to it and make it three-dimensional. And then you got to add in the context of what's happening, right? And then we have to ask what the standards are and how do we judge this and look at it scientifically, right? So, in my opinion, Terence Crawford is not ducking Keith Thurman because of his comments or his attitude, because Terence Crawford, whenever somebody has activated a mandatory or been a champion, been in his path towards accumulating all of the titles, which we ask fighters to do, to work their way up the rankings in the fight. And as he's done that, every challenge and every roadblock that's come, he jumped over it based on what it takes to become the undisputed champion of his weight division, which is the purpose of what we're doing here, to see who the best fighter is. And so my question is this: how can it be a duck? How can Terence Crawford be ducking somebody that's not in his way? And how can Terence Crawford be ducking somebody who got out of the way? And now you want to cycle back. See, here's the issue, is that there has to be standards and codes of conduct for everybody involved. Keith Thurman is also held to a standard in the code of conduct. Just because he's calling out Terence Crawford doesn't mean that he's now in line. Just because Boots calls out Terence Crawford doesn't mean that he's now in line. Just because whoever else calls out Terence Crawford verbally and they do interviews doesn't mean that they're now in line. In order to get in line, you have to conduct yourself in a certain manner by fighting through the rankings, by promoting yourself. So talking is a part of it. You have to talk, but also fighting is a part of it. You need to fight your way. You need to pull my card. It ain't a challenge if you can't pull my card. How can it be a challenge to me? How can you say that you after me when every time that you get a chance to cross my path, you go to the other club? I'm promoting my party at the other spot, and you know where I'm going to be at, but you don't pull up. And the way you pull up in boxing is not just talking. Talking's part of it. That's how you promote. But the way you pull up is you fight. You throw hands, you get in a position. You work your way up the rankings. You go from number 3 to number 2 to number 1. You know how you do that? You go by fighting other guys ranked around you. Why Keith Thurman ain't fighting Ordenis Ugas? Why don't he knock out Ordenis Ugas? Show the whole world, see, I really am one time. I'm back. I'm up the rankings, and Terence Crawford don't want that work. I'm on a rampage. Remember that? The reason that we say Keith Thurman was being ducked by Floyd Mayweather, and then in turn, before that, he was being ducked by Maidana, ducked by AB, ducked by Malignaggi, ducked by AB, really then ducked by Maidana, and then ducked by Floyd. You know why? Because he was #1 contender. He was in line for the fight. He had earned the fight. He had fought his way into contention. Everybody has a code of conduct and a standard. So just because you call me out, you can try, if you try to apply the standard two-dimensionally without context and add the three-dimensional of what's happening within the larger context, well then of course it's going to seem a way, you can make it seem like a guy's emotional. And I also don't want to jump off the cliff and be like, hey, Terence Crawford gonna lose soon. Well, he's 35 years old, 3 weight divisions, 2-time undisputed, 3-time lineal, 40 fights, 10 more fights than what Keith Thurman got. Keith Thurman made that point himself, that like Bud Crawford has been active. So like, okay, so now that we get into so now you telling me you believe that if Keith Thurman was to beat Ordenis Ugas and then turn around and beat Boots and become the mandatory and get in the fight be ordered, and that Terence Crawford is ordered to fight Keith Thurman and his next fight at 147 would not be Keith Thurman? What about his history says that? I don't care what they're saying. See, this is about psychological warfare as well. It's deeper than just that. See, I was doing some research on that Ray Leonard and Hagler fight, right? I knew that Ray Leonard was coming off a detached retina, but I forgot that he was essentially out the ring for like 5 years. Like, you know what I mean? Which also calls into question, why would Marvin Hagler take that fight? Interesting, right? Like, why would Marvin Hagler take that fight knowing that Ray Leonard was coming off 5 years, essentially inactive? He had 1 fight in 5 years, came back. He had a detached retina, came back, tried to have a comeback fight, warm up, get back into it 2.5 years later. Didn't look that good. He stopped the dude, but he just didn't look that good. And he was like, I don't got it no more. Seeing Hagler fight Mugabe, I think is who it was. Said he could beat him, come back, and fought. Now it's questions, right? Like, so then we got to start asking questions about everybody. But even beyond this, the point that I'm trying to make is that I forgot that he was essentially inactive for 5 years, came back to fight, Ray Leonard. I forgot the point I was making with that because I was thinking about what's his name, being out 5 years. Like, I've underrated Ray Leonard. And oh shit, I'm loud. I'm not bad. I got family members and kids and everybody running around. You gotta sneak away and make a video. But like, I forgot who his name, Ray Leonard. Who did he fight right before that? Either way, he was welterweight champion, undisputed welterweight champion, then came back, became undisputed middleweight champion, and then the very next fight, he became the undisputed lightweight champion, I'm pretty sure, right? Or like the lineal or whatever it is. Like Ray Leonard. But here's the point I'm trying to make. I forgot why I was bringing up Ray Leonard and Hagler, the point I was making on that. But it can't be a duck if you're not in my way. And everybody has to fight to get into position. Now, of course, there's certain fights of a certain status and a certain level that we just gonna, like, it don't matter kind of where they are, at the point. They legends, they notoriety, they reputations precede them in such a way that, like, like nobody, you'll see them fight no matter what. And especially with the advent of this influencer boxing coming, like, we're gonna get more of this. But like, look at the expectations that we have on Terence Crawford. You know what I mean? After all he's accomplished, and the words he say, but his actions. I judge a man by his actions. A lot of the stuff that you say, we all say a lot of stuff. It was the psychological warfare. That was the point I was making. The psychological warfare when it comes. He had called Hagler to come over there, and he said he would never fight Hagler. He was retiring. Came back. His first fight back after a 5-year layoff was to fight Marvin Hagler after a detached retina. First fight back. You know what I mean? So he planted he psychologically planted a bomb in Hagler's mind and let that seed grow into a seed of doubt, into a seed. He let him move on. Because see, like in the documentary, Ray Leonard was obsessed with fighting Hagler. Even at the time that he had said he'd never fight him, he was obsessed with fighting him. He planted that seed of doubt. The point I'm trying to make is you don't know what's happening from a psychological standpoint until it plays out a little bit over time. And I'm saying that if you get into, if Keith Thurman fights his way to get in position, if he holds himself to the conduct and the standards of the sport of boxing, not just run your mouth, hold yourself to the conduct and the standard of the sport of boxing. We expect Keith Thurman to fight to get in position. We expect Keith Thurman. That's where "don't duck me, son." That's where that came from. He said, "When I get in position, just make sure you don't duck me." Keith Thurman don't care about position no more. What about Boots? Boots don't care about position no more. Boots was in position to pull the mandatory. In fact, even while Boots, or excuse me, Bud was talking about he ain't worried about no Boots, he ain't thinking about no Boots. He sent Boots a contract offer and they dodged it, talking about they loyal to Showtime. And he could have pulled the mandatory and forced a purse bid, and he didn't do it. So publicly they was talking a little bit. Publicly they was talking, but what about behind the scenes? Bud was trying to make the fight happen, and it was Boots who ain't want that smoke. Why Boots don't fight Ortiz? Why Boots don't fight Ennis? Why Boots don't fight Stanionis? Now, I do believe that whoever the #1 contender is in the mandatory is, if outside of this Errol Spence fight, Bud needs to fight every single mandatory and #1 contender. I don't want no. That's the standard that we hold every champion to. That's why guys like Tank Davis is able to scoot around this stuff and able to play jump around games with the weights, because they're not trying to unify no division. Tank is just taking whatever the biggest money fight, the most lucrative fight for him is, whether it's a good fight or not, whether it's a fight for legacy or not. Ryan Garcia was no kind of legacy. It's a good money fight. It was no kind of legacy. Nobody even, have you rewatched that fight? Nobody care about that fight, man. It was a good moment, man. You know what I mean? Like, it was like, Tank ain't fought not one or nobody. Tank ain't fought none of his champion level contemporaries. Ryan Garcia was never even a championship level fighter. Never even a championship level fighter. What about Rolly? Rolly was never even a championship level fighter. They gave Rolly a title after the fact, so they could say that. Come on, man. What are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? But you know, I'd be interested to hear, people's opinions and thoughts on this, man. I just think that we have to have a standard and code of conduct, and the standard has to be universally agreed upon. And right now, the only standard that we have to judge people is the way that we know that you're not just running your mouth. The way that we can support you as a fan and put our backup behind you is when you show us that you're serious by fighting, and by fighting your way through the rankings, and not just trying to get gifted and skip the line. Like Canelo was ducking Benavidez. Canelo should have fought Benavidez. I'm a Canelo fan. I got the poster right here. I'm a Canelo fan. I support the fights. You know what I mean? Like, it's gonna be hard. I'll probably watch. I probably won't buy the pay-per-view. I might, you know what I'm saying, kick in with some people and split it. You know what I mean? But like throw a party or something, like with a bunch of different people. But like when it comes to, like, it's hard to, like Canelo ducking Benavidez. Why? Because Benavidez was a champion in his division. And Canelo has intentionally moved to avoid him in a bunch of different ways. That's just the truth. I don't know why. I still favor Canelo in that fight. I think Benavidez is soft to the body. I don't think his power is as serious as what they try to make it out to be. I think he's slow-footed. He got quick hands, but his feet slow. I mean, he's still, but Canelo don't believe that. So the truth is that he's ducking. Charlo is ducking Tim Tszyu. Tim Tszyu fought and waited. And did, like, see, this is what I'm talking about is, you gonna tell me, listen, Charlo and Tim Tszyu was on a natural crash course. Charlo got the title. Tim Tszyu fought good, high-level fighters. He beat Tony Harrison. He beat Goucher. He came back from an injury that delayed the fight himself. Charlo got an injury, but he put the time. See, this is about being a boxing champion that's so great, is because you got to put the time in and the work in. You got to win in the ring and outside the ring. You got to win politically, and you got to win with the fist. Like, it's three-dimensional. It's three-dimensional. You know what I'm saying? Like, and Tim Tszyu fought to get in position through the sanctioning bodies. The fight was ordered and mandated. He had gone through all the proper steps. So he was talking that talk and he was walking that walk. And Charlo opted out to, rather than fight his mandatory, he moved up 2 weight divisions to fight Canelo. That's a duck. That's a duck. Now, if Boots get in position or Stanionis get in position after this next fight, or if the next fight not Spence, if it's not Spence and Keith Thurman, or excuse me, and Bud Crawford fight at 147, and it's not a #1 contender, not a challenger, not one of the #1 contender, I will have a problem with that. Because the reason we want undisputed champions is because you can no longer question their resume and their challengers, because you got to defend a #1 challenger at each weight division. So you fight 2 to 3 times a year. You're going to be fighting the #1 contender every single year. Every fight is time competition. And now we can say that, oh, the WBO, they #1 contender. Well, it don't matter. They are recognized body. That guy has fought to get in position through that sanctioning body. Give the man his fight. Same reason Ugas. Why keep, listen, man, these dudes don't want to fight each other, but they want to, and it's the same thing they've been doing, man. These dudes ain't serious, man. These dudes ain't serious. I support your actions. I support people who throw hands, and if you ain't throwing hands, then you just talking. Like, listen, man, like, dude say he gonna do something when he see me, and word got back to me that he say he gonna do something when he see me. So I'm ready. When he see me, I'm ready. And he ain't came across the other side of the room. I ain't worried about dude. Oh, he said he won't worry about me now. Yeah, because you ain't coming across the other side of the room. I'm right here. I ain't hiding. It's easy to find me. Pull his card. Pull his card. If you're not in position to pull his card, stop talking. Let me know what y'all think, man. Boom.